Doc, akwa baby.
Obi, we dem chiao.
Good. Inti Dr. Kwasi Nyame-Baafi. I mean, Ghana ni yakasa we economist. Ayakwa koye a revered we are de Emma and Kofa. So okay, we economist we an economist meaning so be a PhD economics and before you are called an economist, that was why a PhD.
And normally before you ever say we economist and kasano, either say wa chata, and I say where's you there about PhD in economics. Then ubituma kase when a bar economy no hun sense ma wa bi mu a otiase.
Okay. It will PhD no. Now we focus here then in your PhD and then our research on.
So me in my PhD, I focus more on the energy aspect. So I was looking at fiscal policies West African countries before employ when it comes to trying to improve sustainable energy any other and how it actually impacts the general well-being of the citizens within these countries. Yeah.
Energy economist.
Energy economist, yes. Yeah.
Wow, so be energy economist are the other aspect of economics unim.
Oh, the other aspects of the economy is unim, and especially on my side when I was specializing or looking into the energy side of the economics, I was looking at the impact on the general well-being, so the development aspect as well. So how when we look at the fiscal policies, fiscal policy we say abwa ama sustainable development aba the West African countries, looking at Ghana, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Cape Verde, and all these countries.
And who your PhD in uni?
Me, I'm a PhD in the University of Buckingham, UK.
Buckingham University.
Yes, UK. Yeah.
I said Dr. Baumia-Ko.
Honor Dr. Baumia-Ko.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I honor many share for the first time.
For the first time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to break in a record, because I've heard that story of Beckham said, Ghana maybe breaking Dr. Baumia record.
Oh, my cousin may idea to say Dr. Baumia.
No, that's the record.
Yeah, that's Dr. Baumia. I was a Dr. Baumia, the Wabi, by economy no more, once an adjunct mood of power.
But some who could break in a record. That's a one of dream would heavy. Wow, that's interesting. But ain't a one hour master's degree
so a one I'm a share me first degree into me and because of my GPA then I applied for the PhD and I was given right to go and access it. PhD in history.
And you want your master's degree?
Debbie, into me PhD and I'm quite me PhD and I'm quite me MPhil DPhil in economics, and I'm the PhD in economics.
In the first degree in so economics first.
My first degree in some economics, yeah.
And now GPA near saying.
Obi, discuss Ghana's economy.
You don't discuss
Ghana's economy. You see, Obi, dear, my person, my can say, most of the times, in a bar in Mabununa. Omodrin say and nyoma bi wo no ma difficult for them to achieve. For example, say me own personal life experience at the University of Buckingham. As at that time there were other departments to say computer science departments or when you ubia what me in the first degree awakwa in PhD. But never the economics department na bibia obianye vida. As a matter of fact, I say my first degree, I applied to go to do my master's for Oxford.
Okay.
One of my lecturers was say no, or say Baafi, there be me share body awabo economics in the first degree. I think say you should also apply to go and do your PhD straight away. Now, you share the university in the bed and Becca, and truly, me apply, and I was given approval to do it. Nana easy obi. I almost gave up, to be honest.
Wow.
Because na pressure na woman, na pressure na song. a pressure is swankasa.
PhD in how many years?
So I did the PhD in 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah, 3 years, yeah. You know, it's a pressure womuankasa. Na pressure womuankasa.
Especially from first degree straight.
From first degree, because there be yes, not the be a say, utinasina wu ready. Unze abrofo so lectures, jale there be na omu busa very demanding. Now co review way, co read the way, co article way, co analysis way. It do baby now I almost gave up. But the good thing about when they say oh more or mushe crying. And yeah ma adwuma no so yeah easy. Nto mushe crying bompire no aginya di say nyame na odo wa bedu baby awadru no. Ono an sande obey the ben.
That's interesting. I mean, economics and kasana air now we PhD straight from first degree. That's a lot of work. We are there.
Yeah,
to do it in record time, 3 years. No?
2 years.
That's a good one. We are there. Wow. And at least a fair idea of the Ghanaian economy and how our economy is ETCCR, right?
Oh yes. And I think one other thing normally, so me I know say from 2021 to 2024 so I also worked as a technical advisor.
Okay.
To the former vice president and MPP presidential candidate this year, Dr. Mahmoud Baum.
Okay.
Until from then, so now you go back to academia. You pursue making sure lessons and experience, both from the academic perspective and also from the practical perspective. You beat me. I'm making sure masters PhD in economics and so you bit my use those lessons and experience they are warm no almost nyame adom na say almost chance so more apply economics no masuana omo betimi aboama Ghana ayede ben
but one of the things we've heard consistently and is you can be a fine academic as far as economics is concerned but what about practical governance and when you book economics experience in that regard saying
I think sir to be honest to an extent I agree with what you are saying but I think they go hand in hand because about the economy if you don't know how the economy works any policies are pain or other countries now we need how do you actually apply it practically and also be ama when some faso and I believe is once you have a good knowledge of economics in terms of the academics and of course once you start practicing sometimes you may see it's not exactly the same as the book one but it comes in handy make sure Nyoma policies are ordering say somebody to akwan no policies e beboa ama oman na de ben akona nima ma oman no atumpon.
Okay and you would reject the notion say enye book mu economics ni edibo man. You reject that notion?
I reject it because I believe it goes hand in hand because who book mu there or share the practical one so based on experience and also based from the practical ones, then you tweak a bit what you've learned. And on a bit boama policies are better to acquire ama economy na yede I make sense. I'm an acronym.
I would share with you some quotes of the president time and now SONA.
Okay.
Into the heaviest burden we inherited was high inflation, which was silently eroding every household's purchasing power. It peaked at 54.1% at the end of 2022 and declined to 23.5% by the end of 2024. And on Cecilia, we are doing 3% plus inflation. That is something Obia Cranes also say yebetimi enya inflation at that level. This president is surely doing something right, Mebwa.
Into obi the edi kan macha obi onu macha watie phone na macha bono mine.
Okay.
Obi se wo share state of the nation address your man penny deliver last Friday na. I mean there are some facts or can't want them to say inflation or say inflation about down, public debt to GDP about down, etc. Which I do agree with him. Say, indeed, it shows there is macroeconomic stability here.
Yes.
A go on.
Yes.
But I think we take it with time. Now say we share speech, paragraph by paragraph. To be honest, I think whoever wrote the speech for the president, probably or no, minimum no person was setting up the president or what, because the State of the Nation address paints the picture. Say, economy na oman penyini ebe inherite na sa economy na atitia pansam.
Yes.
Ana just last year ana 1 year omodi aba ban no. Sa 1 year no matimi ayede ben attending things around.
Yes.
Enti say you quote here I can ho asem, and even other quotes to say your debt levels.
Yes.
I can say in December 2022 Ghana had one or experienced one of its darkest economic moments in our history. And since then, Omotima turn things around, and my debt to GDP performed to 45%. 45.3%, indeed. But Obi, me person over mama kwan kakra, akunya kakra na yetima church nyoma mu. Because the me person here will a bit of an academic analysis and objective assessment of Ghana's economic situation. I mean, Obi say the darkest economic history in 2022. The key question we should be asking ourselves, say, indeed, you do 2022. Ghana's debt levels were unsustainable. And you do baby now buying taking one of the painful decisions to do the domestic debt exchange program, DDEP, and I mean bilateral negotiations, etc., for debt relief in Adiade. But Obi, you and I should ask ourselves, how did we get there as a country first? And in Shishaya Baina, Abina at the time, the two aquam. And currently, is it based on those in Shishaya SONA debt levels in a form? Say a far facts of 2008, your man Penidada, His Excellency John Ajekum Kufuor, if we so no. Now Ghana's debt was about $8 billion.
Sure.
As of December 2008. Now fast forward to 2016. Now as of December 2016, now Ghana's debt levels was $29.2 billion. $29.2 billion. So now fast forward to 2022. Baby, I am penny can say it was one of our darkest moments in our economic history. Now your debt levels are $53.9 billion in dollar terms.
Yes.
So now so we are mathematics now between 2008 to 2016, our debt levels increased by 262%. From 2008 to 2016, our debt levels increased by 262%. Now from 2017, the levels had increased by about 85%.
That's in percentage terms.
In percentage terms.
But
figures. Yeah, but in percentage terms, the quantum in terms of the increase, debt levels, and in terms of the increase, so if by the time now, say one of our darkest economic moments in the history of Ghana, Obi, question I see Busa only say, why not a contributee, or is it only Nana Danko Akufo-Addo government and a contributee to that unsustainable debt levels? Nana, I mean, based on these numbers, it's so clear. Say the NDC from 2009 to 2016, as a matter of fact, in percentage terms, it contributed more to our debt situation than the MPP government before your debt levels here are unsustainable. And so you're talking about say manage economy ni, and because of recklessness and mismanager, then that means it's not factual.
But
it shows.
The lay person will tell you, say your Bobosiana, you could tia Bosiana.
Yes.
And your percentages needed to yaka.
Okay.
And it's proper to look at the nominal figure.
But Obi, even what is interesting here, say even ocean nominal terms are the difference between the quantum of debt NDCD a buy and the quantum of data MPP did 12 before 2022. That difference, the difference is not that much. So the point I'm trying to make here and here say, when it comes to the debt, the unsustainable levels of our debt situation in 2022, I mean, both governments contributed to that debt level. But sir, as debt, unsustainable debt levels, what happened? Government had to take that painful decision to do that domestic debt exchange program. Any debt negotiations, any restructuring, what is interesting is President in his State of the Nation address say, as part of the debt levels about 45%, they established a sinking fund. They also did restructurings and negotiations, etc. But Obi, you and I know, say, all these negotiations and restructurings, your core IMF program now, yes, DDEP, and then as a matter of fact, painful decision now MPP are buying a chassis, and no contribute. One of the main reasons are two MPP are buying, and also fast war. Anna, this current government here then, benefited from, and no fast war until Obia taking the bullet for this tough decision and painful decision on Muteki. Now government we are no benefiting from it, which is fine. I mean, government is a continuum. But as a ultimate Emma Ghana for so who painting a proper picture of the state of our economy or the state of the nation. You have to make that clear, say, based on negotiations, restructuring MPP are buying a share previously, and also can who be a contributor my debt levels now the bank down say even some of the debt levels now experience here we got some of the debt in 2025 what didn't happen under the previous government, it happened under this government, and you know can who be in our debt levels now the bank now
you would also agree, sir. There were commitments abided in terms of paying bondholders, almost according to the DEP arrangements. They've also continued without fail in finding money to pay bondholders, not seeker. That surely is to the credit of this government. And they would argue, say, if you plunge or minor into an unsustainable debt situation. Now, why would the solution ever? Why should we praise you? We praise you.
I don't think Obi the kind. I think says in a class, unsustainable debt situation was not created by just Nanado Dankwa Akufo-Addo government. And I make us say you share even the quantum of debt or even the percentage increase. Even in percentage terms, majority of the debt came from the NDC government. Inti omuntimin kase MPP are buying on a plunging this country into unsustainable debt levels. The data is there on Bank of Ghana data, etc. It's clear. Now,
economist and a lecturer
bondholders but it is not the situation said previously they were not paying our buy and our again, even when the state of the nation fails to acknowledge Obi, so we share Ghana's public debt from May to September. You know, sir, from May to September last year, 2025, you know, sir, our public debt had actually increased by about 72 billion from May to September last year.
In that short period,
from May to September, our public debt actually increased. So we share Bank of Ghana summary statistics now. You will notice in May 2025 our public debt was 612 billion Ghana cedis. Yeah, by September our public debt had increased to 684 billion Ghana cedis. Then from September to November about FOMSO kakra. But so even from May to November, in terms of there has actually been a net increase in our public debt stock. So in Tiada Oman Penini and the writers of the speech for Mampenino, I acknowledge say Sisia Kase or talking about unsustainable debt situation. Our debt stock is actually increasing. Oman can want them say Sisia Mene Kase Ubi. Your debt here the bank.
But because of say
your debt costs over 30 billion in the account.
Say one thing so abua debt the cedi to dollar because and also a function of how high our debt grows. And this will manage that part of the macroeconomy here. And also,
when Obi make a choice, there are so many factors that can drive our debt levels down.
Okay.
But there am that significant sharp drop no. Yes, our negotiations in America once.
Okay.
But in America, so what they are no crack to China. Sisi amene we can say from May last year to November last year. No. I think I'm release December figures. No.
Yeah.
Our public debt is actually going up. Enti our debt stock no economy enti say omanpanyin ba no ka say omo manage debt situation here. Of course debt to GDP ratio yes, but in terms of the debt stock no, the debt numbers no, our debt is actually going up. Enti sa debt na echo up no eden no mo de ye projects ben na omo de ye sesi a ema debt na ekoso because the be unfair na yes say obi say sesi a no omo be increase debt numbers no na yemfa ne say 2028 omo free aban mu no na another government aba no na ebedu on debt levels na unsustainable la na say sa aban no so mo take painful decision a mo akwa blame sa aban ne say omo no na accreate sa unsustainable debt situation no just as we saw in 2022. But meaning said the American what must say and no na make us the state of the nation address no fail to even acknowledge that. The state of the nation address didn't acknowledge that. Similarly, no Obi, okay, Omanpenny speech now, he created the impression so oh, now Ghana is part of the 10 largest economies in Africa.
Yes.
So Omoba and the economy was so bad, it says no, based on in Shishaya Omodia to Aquamuno, and on Abwa Ama say no your GDP. And our economy now expanded. Ama Ghana part. You see, Obi.
You disagree with that?
Obi, let's look at the numbers. As at 2016, our nominal GDP was somewhere around 219 billion Ghana cedis. MPP are buying a free mono. Now, yeah, GDP across 1 trillion. Yeah, GDP across 1 trillion.
Yes.
So even okay speech here on my opinion ready and he said, sir, our GDP in 2024 was somewhere around $83 billion. Meboa, it's in the SONA. So we share the 10 largest economy, business inside Africa. The 10 largest economy. And the 10th economy, Tanzania. Their GDP was estimated somewhere around $79 billion. So if Ghana now is currently part of the top 10 largest economies, are you saying, sir, just this government in the Ghana economy be a part of that 10 largest economy it's not accurate
because he makes the point that Ghana is among the top 10 largest economies in Africa. Average GDP growth for the first 3 quarters of 2025 is reported at 6.1%. Yes.
And no crana will be cramming person make can one asem because no crana na me share na to be honest na Mr. Kakra because so we share the first 3 quarters of 2025 now we can say average GDP growth is 6.1%, which is good. Almost my opinion say commendable, which indeed commendable. But the first 3 years of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government, 2017 GDP was growing at 8.1%. 2018 GDP was growing at 6.2%. 2019 GDP was growing at 6.5%. When year quarterly figures in America,
the whole year.
I'm talking about the whole year GDP growth. The real state of the nation, Obi, we will see it probably after the IMF program, when we've exited an IMF program. Then we can say, sir, is the government doing quite well when it comes to our economic situation? Because as a matter of fact, even 2024, the GDP growth rate was at 5.7%. So that means the GDP growth situation was okay.
But you would also agree, sir, the first 3 years under Nana reference we were under an IMF program.
No, so the first 3 years were under IMF program. And I'm going to say, in those 3 years, 8.1, 6.2, 6.5%. But here we are referencing quarterly average growth rate of figures. I don't think the president say what Timmy turning the economy around. But here we are, even in 2024, no, the GDP growth rate was already at 5.7%. Meaning for the whole year in 2024, meaning the economy had already turned the corner. That means the economy not turning around the dada. It is a buying way so atwaswa is commendable, but they also have to commend the previous government for bequeathing them an economy na turning around and economy. Even the inflation figures here, Obi Ukan Wasem. IMF for your review in 2024. IMF, based on the policies that were being implemented in 2024, actually forecasted, say Ghana was going to experience a single-digit inflation. Single-digit inflation, because for you to do a forecast, your forecast will be based on certain policies that are being implemented at that particular point in time. Yes. Then you do your forecast, you do your predictions. Say policies will continue. Say and as I said, the people can sign economy better. And the International Monetary Fund, based on the policies that were being implemented at the time in 2024. Now say abai no koso ye the omoye, regardless of whether government changes power or not. Normally, inflation never drop it to a single-digit inflation. So, if we are experiencing inflation rate below 4%, it's commendable. But it started somewhere. Obi, it started somewhere. And even quote now, Obi, you can't want some about inflation peaking at a certain level, coming down to 23.5%, and now going below 4%. In that same paragraph, the president actually talked about petrol prices are above, trying to, the writers of the speech were trying to create the impression, say, because of inflation above form, etc. And even petrol prices near a year above form. But Obi, again, let's do an academic assessment here. In June 2022, oil prices were somewhere around $117 per barrel.
On the world market.
About $117 per barrel. As at December last year, per Bank of Ghana statistics data, oil prices, so Mecca crude oil prices, Brent crude oil prices, were somewhere around $61 per barrel. That's almost 50% drop. Yes. Now, domestic fuel prices is determined by world oil prices, exchange rate movements, taxes and levies, etc., and probably local market dynamics. Yes. Let's assume, of course, exchange rate, the city has appreciated. Taxes and levies, even based on the energy sector amendment, there's one Ghana cedis levy in our account. But let's assume, for the purposes of analysis, let's assume, exchange rate constant. It hasn't changed from what the current government inherited. Let's assume, taxes and levies in a BIMB account. Let's assume, local market dynamics, etc. So no, you're stable. Obi, if there's a 50% drop in oil market price, won't it affect fuel prices? Even say Iran-Israel war near Kano. Even market analysts are predicting crude oil prices are going to shoot up, which would also affect domestic petrol or fuel prices. So Obi, if you have $117 per barrel coming all the way down to $61 per barrel, now say petrol prices are but is it based on policies of government holding all other things constant? Is it based on
we are not yet there? But we want to spend money. Ghana na
the policy of government
for the cameras and for the optics.
Lay your hands
so buy with the farmer insurance. Ghana say
yes, and I make assuming say you hold see the now waiting constant.
You for the cameras, economy for the cameras.
Exactly.
For the cameras. So
what I'm trying to explain is even though the city has appreciated, which would also impact petrol prices, and there's that sharp drop in fuel prices is actually from the world market price now are dropping more. The city appreciation is a contributing factor, but the dominant force, there has been a very sharp drop in petrol prices. It's the external factor. And yes, Israel and Iran and the US more kono. Even some of the CSOs in Bekase say we want to drag on inflation is expected to go up. And I will be the impact of the mechanism. So in that case, how then do you say based on solely maybe policies Odia tutu akwa muntina ama petrol prices abafom. And this even explains that if we had petrol prices at or crude oil prices at $117 per barrel in 2022, of course, it also explains some of the hardships we're experiencing in 2022. And I will be the maker. My name is Otimas here. If we look at the state of our nation on the economy side, the GDP, we've looked at it. We've seen, say, it's a trend that has started before. We look at our debt levels. Again, we've seen, say, it's a trend that has started before. Yeah. And even the sharp drop we are seeing now, it is also as a result of negotiations that had begun prior to 2025. Yeah, sure, yeah, inflation levels. And also, you who say exactly the same. It also has external factors playing a role to it, and also of course the CD rate, etc., and also play a role or impact in it. But even the cost of living, for me, it's good for us to talk about inflation, but also let us look at the general also cost of living.
But even before we come to general cost of living,
okay,
ma share what publicly a known say aban aye to bring the seed in a home up. I mean, what we've heard, the role of gold.
The role of gold,
and
okay.
A gold board in Emma seed in a home. Of course, a policy choice are buying we make here. Say gold board all-time higher. What can we do to rake in as much benefit from gold as possible? And government took the decision and say, okay, yemfa a lot of gold, emfa and shore up the strength of our city. That is something I was say ultimately buying we abaso for, because President Ekai said because of that. I was looking for that specific quote, but there's even this quote where Eka said our economy has grown significantly. In 2025, Ghana's GDP is expected to reach $113 billion, up from $83 billion at the end of 2024. It is that increase, no? So
for the cameras,
also practice 83 billion from 113 billion. That's like 20 plus billion US dollars. Become economy, in just 1 year. That should be something.
Oh, and America so we and the economy, no. And I'm gonna say even if you take the economy from 2016 to 2024, in nominal terms, there had been even over 400% increase.
Okay.
Previous government and also at the count.
Yes.
Now, if we take our time and look at our exchange rate, indeed, I won't sit here and say CD appreciates here is a bad thing.
Yes.
I mean, CD appreciation is a good thing, but where this government, I think, is losing focus on, the government is so overly focused on an over appreciation of our currency. And that is where it is getting interesting, because at the same time, in the State of the Nation address, the president talks about we have to reduce our import dependence.
Yes,
we have to create jobs. In that same way, we have to create jobs. We have to boost local production. Yes. Even cited his famous policy or program in Kokon Kitinkite, and highlighted or emphasized on the annual import bill that is coming from poultry. I no opese share na yeteso. Na say obi as an economist, metena say mitie yema mpanyini, okay, let's reduce import bill, let's create decent jobs. Indeed, so opese will create sustainable jobs. You have to boost your local production. Because once you boost your local production and there's more demand and you are even exporting more, then that means that now you need more workers, you need more labor. So you are creating decent jobs and you are creating sustainable jobs. Now here we have a government that is telling us in words, say they want to reduce import dependence and they want to at the same time, whilst reducing the import dependence, create jobs. But they are so over-fixated on an over-appreciation.
I always say you can't manage what you can't see. Monday.com shows you the full picture like that. Statuses, timelines, budgets, all in one clear data.
On these same variables omoka hwansem. Inti den na me pa kire. Obi, for illustration purpose, let's assume say $1 20 Ghana cedis. For illustration purpose, let's assume say $1 20 Ghana cedis. Now, yeah, assume say akoko baako a oton wo Ghana ha 40 Ghana cedis. That means say in dollar terms, $2. Meboa, $2. Now let's assume say akoko funu are imported from Amanoneno, so $2. Say obi we Ghana nia, obeto akoko na free hefa. Say the who imported free Amanoneno $2. Now the who turn Ghana ni $2. The hina obeto Ghana there. Thank you. Yes. So in that case, say President Ekasa or the nkoko nkitinkiti policy and a program eba. Now say or the nkoko ma poultry farmers. Now more or less, what he's trying to do here say or subsidize farmers a boosty local production. In Tebema akoko funu na ye tofi amanone no aye de ben abafom. Na akoko na ye ton wo Ghana ha sei na kosoro. Na nkoko na ye ton wo Ghana na ekosoro no. Na poultry expanding here, na creating juma. Similarly, it's not only the poultry, but same with all local factories and industries here in Ghana. I said once you are boosting the local production, then you are creating more jobs. Now here we are. Now let's assume, say, with the same assumption I'm in, let's say in about 3 months or 4 months, they say $1 in 20 Ghana cedis bill. They say $1 10 Ghana cedis. $1 10 Ghana cedis. Obi akoko na oton wa Ghana ha no 40 Ghana cedis so. Eno de ensesan. But 40 Ghana cedis based on the new exchange rate so koto dollar obenya sen. Obenya $4. Obenya 4. Say na akoko funu na $2 wa mono na. Eno so ensesan yo. Yes. But Ghana ha say Ghana na ha na won based on the exchange rate $4 ultimi de to akoko funu mienu. If you amanone. Nti obi de he na obeto. Because I know na abafom. Until you will see, say Ghana for no will switch from local consumption to imported products. Things that some better local poultry, better imported poultry. Until poultry now also person will boost or local production of Ghana. No. As a matter of fact, even though in West, okay, person boost production. In reality, based on your policy choices, you are actually boosting production, foreign production. And the poultry farmers, would have to shut down. And that's what is happening with rice farmers, because now imported rice is cheap. And the inhumana also will create to Ghana, no. And Inhuma will create to Ghana. And this maybe State of the Nation address, and they can say, oh, you're creating Numa Thailand. You're creating Numa China, you're creating Numa US. The America say okay, and no crash na president take because based on the policy choice to over appreciate the currency, you are actually increasing your imports rather than reducing your import dependence. You are actually creating jobs. Ubie Numa wa brochire rather than say ubie Numa mabunu no Ghana. And if you say you want to reduce import dependence and create jobs, it is not accurate. It is not factual. What you are actually doing here, say, oh, go in Juma Ghana, and I will create you be in Juma Manone.
All because seed na ho den baby akwa kodu no enye
artificial.
Ideally baby wasan ke edu no
artificial. It doesn't reflect the market demand and supply. Until what create a false sense say city no wa ama, but because reflected the market dynamics who destroy or export sector who destroy local industries until say we government now say in mabunu no da wakoma so until no pese will be in jumama in mabunu na obi you are not creating jobs for the youth. You are actually creating jobs abroad for foreign countries.
But because the Ghanaian is inherently entrepreneurial, into Ghana, nenije to naton and ne oko edum kumas will be up a shop where edum akofan yoma biguma ba beton. So we are buying not majority of your business people. That is the trader or more engaging in. We now rely on bringing the goods from outside. omo per dollar na yakofa nyoma naba. What do you do?
But
Are balancing?
But you see, Obi, and that is one of the structural weakness of our economy. And until you will notice, I say we've always struggled with depreciation of our currency because we are so import dependent. That's one of the many reasons why MPP are buying a car. Say, almost the one district, one factory,
Yes.
In order for the Ghanaian entrepreneurs, to switch gently from buying and selling to production within, because if you create a very good business environment, it will make more sense for the trader to actually produce locally and sell. And until many countries like the US, and they are trying to bring tariffs in order to make sure they are boosting their local production. Into we a government now we'll say Ghana economy you will not bring in policies promoting import dependence. If that was the case, the president in the State of the Nation address will not say I want to reduce import dependence, even though practically based on his policies, he's actually increasing import dependence. Now, Obi, baby, Obi, you may not see it all because our gold prices are caught up. You may not see it all because your reserves, Bank of Ghana teaming intervening in the forest market. But when we begin to have external shocks, now Obi, your domestic industries in rice farmers, poultry farming, now Obi, that means basically in the future we will not be producing anything within. Inti assembly to say COVID the kusi na say countries shut your borders what we consume in Ghana na yakofan wa henfa eno na ye will be a friend imported inflation because our auto free amanone no say prices cost ro amanone we imported the bar na Ghana so cost and it's a national security threat, and it's one of the things that happened in post COVID situation. Inti any government bia mbabunu ne da omakoma so Ghana economy ne da na koma so say Ghana economy ne ebetimi grow sustainably would want to create a scenario, a situation we will reduce our import dependence. But this overfixation on the overappreciation of our currency is resulting in us rather importing more and destroying and killing our domestic industries.
But you have your people, and so when the CD was at 14 at the time, and now MPPA free you had the Ghanaian people complain, say, "Seed na ho odena atiaba form dodo." Any government I would take it over from the NPP last year would have focused on bringing the seed na ho odena up.
So, Obi, what Ghanaians were complaining about, and which I agreed with them, so the post-COVID. Right after the COVID scenario, you can see he said the currency was very unstable and was depreciating very rapidly. But what Ghanaians were complaining about was that depreciation and rapid. But they wanted currency stability. And Dada, His Excellency the former Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the domestic gold purchase program for reserves near a buy. A true sad domestic gold purchase program for reserves near buy. Anna a boosty your reserves Emma currency in just say appreciate sustainably na stable. Inka once the currency becomes stable, Ghanaians will be happy about. And on a ma increase gold reserves from 8.7 tons to 30.4 30.5 tons. And on a boy dollar reserves in so so what Ghanaians were requesting for, which I agreed with them, we will have enough reserves my currency at my stable. But an over appreciation, so that's why I says I don't have issues with appreciation of the CD sustainably. But when you create an artificial appreciation, it hurts the economy rather than it helps the economy. Say gold reserves are 30.4 tons or 30.5 tons. Now above form to 18.6 tons. Obi, this is not good management of the economy.
Because the Bank of Ghana has explained to you.
It's not good management of the economy.
Bank of Ghana explained, and yet just selling of the gold reserves, a portfolio management, taking advantage of increased gold price.
A portfolio management. Anna, omo launching and say, almost be national accelerated national reserve accumulation program.
Sure.
They are thinking about increasing gold reserves.
Absolutely.
Mebwa.
Yes.
So if we go and launch a policy,
yes,
I don't know, say boy and some mom. In that policy, you want to increase also your gold reserves.
Yes.
Now about two reserves are increasing from 8.7 to 30.5 tons. Now what ton? Those reserves, I don't know, you accumulated it at a cheaper price of gold. Say now gold prices are cost now to gold at a high price to replace the what on an answer then. I say economists now will be mentioned and TRC.
No, but the point
then
is,
a Bank of Ghana governor patch because my confused.
The gold, and decorative piece being out there go. Say,
but Obi what's the definition of reserves?
No, reserve
definition here there.
The reserves can be in gold. And then in dollar.
Good. But say I'm no say Obi.
Yes.
Because of the global economic uncertainty,
sure,
people are actually dumping their dollars and buying gold. As a matter of fact, so we share central banks across the globe.
Yes.
They are all buying gold. So we share US mukro munye producing mining gold to say Ghana krana. Gold reserves is in thousands of tons of gold. Ghana is a gold producing nation. You crack 30 something tons of gold. Central Bank governor Baba catch them say as a gold producing nation, I crack about 30 tons. Dollar and for dumpy to gold. Dumpy gold in $1. I mean, Obi, are we serious?
Yeah, but
Obi, are you serious?
But if you are talking of, and according to the president, our reserves currently stand at $13.8 billion, covering 5.7 months of imports. You cannot just have all your reserves in gold. Bank of Ghana governor because of the current gold price, we can make some good windfalls if we sell now in our portfolio management. Sell now, make some good dollars. Now the dollars, that's why I can raise it. That's why we are doing.
Anna Obi, me make catch us. First of all,
yes,
all our reserves were not in gold.
Yeah,
we had dollar reserves and we had gold holdings.
Reserves, yes.
As we speak now, any rational investor is rather buying gold to hedge because of the global uncertainty when it comes to Trump policies, etc., and the impact on the dollar.
Yes.
Central banks across the globe, they are buying gold. As a matter of fact, US for Nankasakrano, omu gold reserves now omu increasing. Now Ghana gold producing nation.
Yes.
Reserves Nyame-Baafi ama increasing from 8.7 tons from 2022. December 2024 do 30.5 tons.
Yes.
This last year mode kakra bi say 2 tons o say deba na aba beka ho no. O say sa gold reserves no. Edo ama ton almost half the $1 nipa na wo ton country na wo ton $1 kra no. Increasing the gold reserves. Every rational investor to gold. Inti se obe kan Kukwanan's story we chiremia.
But doc, so governor.
Is this sound economic management?
Yeah, but if you were the governor of the bank,
sound economic management,
knowing how volatile prices of these natural resources on the world market. Now what drew?
No, Obi, can't see asem. And I'm can't see asem.
No,
say countries,
yes,
with gold prices issue
yes,
any dollar now a weakening because of the uncertainty.
Yes,
to gold. O say me ton gold no. No air cost rona sisia no a safe asset. Akwa to dollar na. No because of global uncertainty no dollar na a weakening no. I mean, Obi,
you don't understand
it doesn't make logic. It doesn't make any economic sense.
But let me also give you the layman way. Say, gold prices may not get this high, at least in the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And at this time now, gold price now high, no. And a gold now will keep in your reserve, no. And yeah for decoration. And it's a and gold price are high. Now bet me towing you more dollars. And you build a dollar reserve. Why don't you do it?
But Obiana America say in that case, what you are doing is not sound management, because what is the proportion of gold when it comes to your total reserve portfolio? If your gold, the proportion is so much,
yes,
and Abeka say okay, it's so risky, but that proportion is not that much. Abeka say kwa koton gold reserves kakrana odi ato ho no kwa koton. And I make a choice. Say, we share between time I share domestic gold purchase program no, and gold for reserves program national.
Yes.
You will notice, say, Obi, and no na a boy at the confidence by economy now fe no currency na shas is stabilizing. It played a role in that. So if now no nyamia daroma say gold purchases for our reserves in Kosra. Na dollar na a weekend domestically no globally no sorry no e ko for ma say ma ton gold reserves no akwa ko ton dollar na we are wasan akwa launch a national reserve accumulation policy say o pese we increase gold reserve
no all this dollar na na say akoto
I mean Obi
gold
you see Obi enter America say
that's the incoherence for you
and Obi in America say so when it talks about the state of the nation Obi me as an economist and America say, of course, you can see said things the economy is stabilizing, which has started previously. But if you look at some of the policy decisions being taken, Obi are very scary.
Really?
Obi is scary.
Would the decision to create say gold board to consolidate your gold in your na yetumi aton enya dollars. Edia share economy no my seed no so enya ahoden is it a scary decision? So
Obi yefa baby to say gold board.
Yes.
Me up to now if you ask me to assess the impact of gold board, I will tell you sir it's too early. The reason being that if you look at even our historic production of gold in Ghana, even prior to the time our gold board buy on border, and you multiply it by the current historic gold prices,
yes,
what we are doing now is nothing major. It's nothing major.
I didn't hear.
But Obiana make us say even over 2018 production,
yes,
which was somewhere over about 100 tons in Ghana. Now we're multiplying it by the gold prices. Yes. That means that we would have actually been doing, if not similar, more than the gold exports that we are seeing currently in Ghana. So then, therefore, what is the real impact of the gold board? So the real impact of the gold board, we'll begin to assess it later on when we are able to decouple the price effect. Where and only a bit more has a pass a gold board no at me stop smuggling na ye cano and pass it to my ye no a bit more who the real impact of gold board. But who share the PMMC na near before now. Yes. And I make us a wholesale production that happened in certain years, like 2018, etc. Now, all the multiply by our gold prices now, we would have been doing, if not similar, more than the gold exports that we are seeing currently.
In terms of the value.
In terms of the value.
Because
in terms of the value.
2025, Bank of Ghana, or more gold board trade in 2025, or share actual quantity supplied. Now, be 80.7 kg of gold within the period. The value 128 billion US dollars. Inflow a buy ankasano. I think no okay the inflow was 133 billion. The actual value supplied now 128 billion. That is some good money coming to the Ghanaian economy in 1 year. And some have said, because of gold board and how the policy was framed, all artisanal ASM gold, at least you can see all of them in one basket. Previously, now smuggling edge almost half.
Yeah, and now Obi make us I'm not saying that the exports never muno any good.
Okay.
What I'm saying is the value, the gold export value we are seeing now, is it just a resulting effect from gold board?
From gold board, okay.
Are we saying that without gold board, values nana? That is the point I'm trying to make. And I make us say, we share some of the production in 2018, etc. Now, say we multiply by the current historic gold prices now.
Yes. Maybe we would have gotten the same value.
Maybe we could have gotten the same value. So in that case, you can't say the concept of gold board is something so innovative as completely. That's the point I'm trying to make. And the second point I'm trying to make in the Sonia,
I would also agree, say, formalizing that sector and making sure, say, Obe regularize the buying and selling.
As a matter of fact, even now, only miners they are complaining
about.
They are complaining because now gold board is trying to operate more or less like cocoa board.
Yeah, but that has been the concept from day one.
Yeah, but America said the point is that and I say on one company investment embra no fambe mining now on my new gold price no na about be determine mana. Then what you are also doing is you're actually destroying the mining sector. So if previously they based on the value now ubinyano yan fan say we dem they can't same keke yan fan so be mine one plot no de nya sika bia de bia wonya say no umano because our money low price also mining more than one plot. Enti so one man machinery near a year bit my mine amana mining sustainably. What you've actually even ended up doing is increasing illegal mining. And that is also one major factor OBS and Ibahone because the government is also over fixated on the gold sector and neglecting other sectors like the cocoa. Since as I speak to you, cocoa farmers are competing with illegal miners for land and labor. Again, because of the overfixation of the government on the gold sector. Say Obi, and that gold prices special dropping on.
Yes.
And I make catch say it's scary. And I make catch say as an economist, I get worried.
Yes.
Because we are supposed to diversify our exports. But if we are focusing all our attention on just gold, ignoring other key critical sectors, the agri sector, our cocoa sector near there, what happens when the gold prices begin to drop? Billions of dollars here will come once me. What will we do? By then, near destroy cocoa sector. No. By then, near they destroy the real sectors of the economy. What is going to happen? That's the saying. No, yes, and now I finish. Yes, I'm about to declare, say, bankrupt, and I said the bank. And we can make us say whatever we do, we must just not look at the present. But I say any economic decision we will take we share the future. Because when we share future now we deal with just the present and the optics are. In future, the problem we could see Obi. If we do on present or more managing presently, no money who. The back could share or more future no. Then that means we are resetting back again. Look at what is happening in the cocoa sector. You say you want to create jobs, utility prices. Look at what is happening. So you are increasing your import dependence, and at the same time, your cost of production locally is also going up. Cost. Utility prices, electricity cost, water cost. Into local industries, from there then or money foreign companies now compete. Obi. Compete. Into when say in Juma kakano cry woman muno. Na say in Juma ne ye de ben egu. Na say ni bibia this ye koto efia manonia na BBC gold prices back from countries, global countries, no more share so much chacho mo borders. Then na Ghana be. Ne be do ono ma government of that day ni be blaming so ma mismanage economy na Obi. Baby I make say Obi, me use example of cancer. I to say there who will brain tumor.
Yes.
Also brain tumor sometimes one year tester you think say the symptoms near headache. I so tear or yani ade. Na say Obi. Who the option say obekwa akofa paracetamol. Any option say obekwa akoye yan fancy chemotherapy ni ade. Obi say okoye chemotherapy na it takes time boy and no be say nipa na ni team 8-2 na nipa no f1 na nipa no ube hu say I mean ohwe na hu say enye eyi oyare but sa chemotherapy ni na etu yare na se na se wo yes sa chemotherapy ni we na wutu yare na se a na se nipa no ho hyase se eto no na se obi ukofa paracetamol a paracetamol no na ama headache ne kofoma na and I say chemotherapy ni na etu yare na se. That is exactly the situation now, Obi. The previous government had to take certain painful decisions which cost them power. And that was the chemotherapy. It is a ban way aba. That's all no ma paracetamol now. I'm not saying say it's not good. It's good. But I mean you need to paint an accurate picture of the state of the nation. And the men say can you say the ma cancer ne buy no. Presently no say what to unsan koye sa nyoma no wonim say wan hwe yi a esan ma cancer na yedebe aba. If you look at the policies being taken now, Obi, and I make us say anhwe yi a if you destroy the cocoa sector, you destroy the real sectors of the economy. Now over focusing on the gold. That's a good price as a conformer. What happens to the Ghanaian economy? What happens to Ghanaians? Because you would not have diversified your exports.
And for you, in the last 1 year, with Dr. Atoforsen and the Bank of Ghana governor, Nyame-Baafi ruling out as far as the management of the economy is concerned, you know, or more policy being who are impressive personally.
Obi and America say apart from the BOG intervention in the market, forest market, Boama, there's an appreciation. What I'm saying is that the appreciation is good, but there's the over appreciation, which is a problem. I mean, OSHA, even capital expenditure within the budget, is a minimal percentage of the entire budget. And as a capital expenditure, crown on a Boama transformative policies, neither Abba. Your Fabi is a 24-hour economy, Obi. And on according to this government, in a year more or less, or more flagship program. Yes. Ebema njuma bu. Ewo Ghana man madbunu no. Enye juma ye 133. Now Obi Ubu Sam say up to now in the State of the Nation address. Your man Penyiko read the State of the Nation address or say Ghanaians should commend him because they've signed 24-hour authority bill
no, into a law.
Anna Oma allocating 110 million Ghana cedis to the 24-hour economy. Obi, if you read this on paper, and I make us say on the face value, you know, I mean, like I say, oh, Charlie, 110 million Ghana cedis for 24-hour economy. Oma allocate, Oma sign authority bill near ye. That means a 24-hour economy. But Obi, let's do an assessment of just this statement. Let's do a critical assessment of the statement. Gusitando, on a coordinator of the 24-hour economic policy program, he's on record. Say they need $4 billion to successfully implement the 24-hour economic program. Meaning, say 24-hour economic program, say per se cost year, he have $4 billion. Now let's use an exchange rate of 12, because the exchange rate has been present. Say the real rate is between 10 and 12. You let's use 12. That means for us to successfully, or for the government to successfully implement the 24-hour economic program, you need 48 billion Ghana cedis. To successfully implement the 24-hour economic program, I have 133 no. Say maybe ekusi say how much Then in the 2026 budget, which the president repeats in the State of the Nation address, president say you are allocating 110 million
Ghana cedis.
Now, Obi, 110 million Ghana cedis, what is the 110 million Ghana cedis represent what percentage of 48 billion? That's about 0.23 or say 0.2 something percent of Obi.
For the authority to set
Obi, I had to say there. No, and you are in 2026, so
yes.
And your account literally just about 3 years. 2 years. Now what for your buying? Now we're allocating 0.23% of the amount required to successfully implement the 24-hour economic policy. Now, Obi, me babunu no. Hope when are them, mame. That means that when you're ready, I say Obi, my bar home, me say, Obi, me was some investment to be and person me pa Obi. We them saw me 100,000 Ghana cedis. Also, Baafi. Men worry 100,000 cedis. Men worry. We the member who's cash sorted out to make a business no. Now business na konenim. Men ya che. Me say Obi say oba boa me ama 100,000 cedis na me hwehwe na me nsaka. Na Obi ukoya say 0.23% of 100,000 you say. Now about 230 cedis na Obi wa me 230 cedis. Me fan ko business na Obi. O de kan okre Obi. 230 cedis and yes card ma me say me kodi. AT&T na de ama me. It is 110 million Ghana cedis now allocated when you actually need about 48 billion Ghana cedis to successfully implement the 24-hour economic policy. Now probably 110 million Ghana cedis as administrative expenditure being a odiama you say maybe or more 24-hour secretariat no na ode koye TNT salary dia more but enya dia ekwako create some jobs to be and as I said o mo kan ekwako reduce utility prices and electricity prices ama induma come. And Jamaica say if you read the State of the Nation address on a face value, Obi has 110 million Ghana cedis for 24-hour economy. That's brilliant. Oh, economy them saying Juma Baba, but it just represents 0.23% of what you actually need to successfully implement the 24-hour economic policy. That means to say the 24-hour economic policy in Yanshe is a symbolic policy, and your policy abino I show my dream musampa or person but what person mu ye bibi ma obi ka so mu ye bibi. It is a me as babunu no. I'm worried because that means a 133 now what promise no. And you idea here the ben. E ba be baso.
Yeah, but I say train the authority bill no is now a law. The authority will be set up and that authority na betre incentives near their businesses about joining program no ombetimi enya all of that will be laid out by the authority
and I will be well cuz I got 2 years
no fan set up authority and then they will lay out the incentives
obi na make say even so even big push you come can 2025 budget even 110 million no ma can the my budget for
what they've budgeted for
what they've said they are going to do.
Yes,
over 2025 budget the amount they budgeted for capital expenditure, the amount they budgeted for the big push, I hear crying eventually on this best year. It's me analysis now. My no crying here say 110 million on my budget, and so this best in our crowd, and no crying enough. But in reality, no 110 million no crying. A bit my bass say, or moon Timmy crying this best say 70 million crying 60 million. That means it's a symbolic policy, and your policy. Why I didn't say and Papa Opa say Udibamu. Emma in Mabunu Ninya Jumabi no moye Obi. So this is the real state of the nation of Ghana.
In finally, say opportunity to advise the finance minister, as the Bank of Ghana governor, or even the president, and then I'll be catching economy management.
Obi, the American say, Yaman Penyin and the finance minister should focus on the real sectors of the economy.
Real sectors near the end.
Real sectors of the economy. What I mean here is they should focus on sectors a bit create sustainable jobs.
Okay.
I ama currency, I appreciate it sustainably.
Okay.
For example, the agricultural sector, we should focus on that. Our local industries, we should make sure we are giving them incentives for them to thrive so that we can also export.
Yeah.
Cocoa farmers near there, I say making sure you subsidize your so now cocoa sector that's why they grow.
Yes.
And they should make sure instead of the over fixation on intervening in the forest market to create an artificial appreciation of the city. They should, once they focus on the real sectors of the economy, naturally the city will appreciate sustainably. And at the same time, we can build enough reserves in future, and once there are any external shocks, but they will be depleting our reserves, killing the local industries, the real sectors, into once there are external shocks, we will not have any buffer. A bit me, Abuaya, Yahu, Ebihia. Into another baby, I saw money at the bank. omani come.
The word interest rate are above from no be because I say interest rates have fallen from above 30% to about 18%, freeing up credit for businesses and households. And no should be good. And but that's how you also local in.
Oh yeah, I think once interest rates goes down, it's fine. But I mean, if you look at the real cost of production for local businesses now, Ghana, Obi, one of the key electricity.
Okay.
One of the key electricity. Obi ate has say no na TV air condition It is electricity board on paper no almost increase by almost 30%.
Yes.
But in reality no, many would say bro say 30% no. And no ebe then our local businesses are thriving. Obi. Inti no yes na who kill the domestic industries no. Inti yes president of my penini and then the finance minister and the energy, they will not be able to compete, Obi. I want to compete. And if there is so much focus on the gold, now we are not focusing on trying to find incentives, etc. To say there are now 1D, 1F, no more incentives to help local industries now. Then we are not building any solid economy. And no, so one share to say the nurses for complaining, teachers for complaining, cocoa farmers complaining, never be a problem. A bad problem. Make catch say we share your debt stock crisis here from May to November. No, our debt stock is actually increasing, and it's worrying because if we are talking about fiscal consolidation, near share how I see manage your debt levels year near go back to the time past between 2018 to 2016, we had over 262% increase in debt levels. 2017 to 2022, we had 85% increase in debt level now. Now, OB a hard journey. And then I make us as an economist and me your finance minister at all. And here you say, making sure they are putting in place proper policies. Not policies meant for the optics, not symbolic policies, but policies, transformational policies. Ama mine akonenim na mmabunu no etimanya adwuma nti eno o man panyin ba na okas wa create 1 million jobs enye obi na beba beka se 1 million jobs no enye no kre but mmabunu na beba out beka sampa yenya ye de ben ndwuma ye but on beka se wo ya create 1 million jobs na beka ko Ghana statistical data no reference here no na enye sa 1 million jobs and yes na a hard drink kakra and one other thing na obi me di betwa to ne say the managers of our economy managers of our economy make even the key agencies to say cocoa board money omo hu say the campaign is over.
Okay.
To make us say the campaign is over, what I'm trying to say here is say no enye platform so na omo kasa keke. Okay. But as a manager of an agency or manager of the economy, the work be it also has its implications and impact on Ghana sikasemo. And for example, your cocoa board issue is here. Randy Abiba out to and say, oh, we have cocoa bebre wahonoma yentoya. If he was not the CEO of Cocoa Board, probably some comment would have just gone like that. But Ghana is one of the largest producers of cocoa. Okay. And so out now because there is a lot of supply of honoma yentoya. Technically, you've informed the market sentiment to say cocoa baby honoma to supply exceed demand there. Then I say prices here a dropping. And this was one of the reasons why cocoa prices also on the international market here they be baffle. Inti mesre abamu mpanyimfo say eya omunsusunya politics no. Now omunye more academic, more objective and more factual. Sana Ghana na ye de be ekonanim. Because Ghana no ko yanim a ye nyina na ye de be ye benefit. Ghana no so anko nanim a ye nyina so na ye de yes ye ho be kire ye. Inti no na me de betwa to obi.
Fantastic. Dr. Kwasi Nyame-Baafi. Yedase papa.